What's up everyone, Josh on this video. We're going to talk about sharps and the mark sharp option specifically. So before I mentioned that if you want to, smooth this guy out but not have the smooth shading go crazy, you simply use the auto smooth option here. In this angle, anything below 30 degrees will be smoothed, anything above 30 degrees won't be smoothed. And since this whole cube is consistent of 90-degree angles, since 90 degrees is above 30, nothing's going to be smoothed out, so that's what the auto smooth is doing. Now, although the angle is what's controlling the smoothness of this guy, you can also do it manually using the mark sharps option. Now for this to work, you have to make sure auto smooth is turned on. So here what I did was I put this above 90 degrees. So now anything below this value will be smoothed, and since 90 degrees is below this 94.6 degrees, then everything is going to get smoothed and look crazy again. But I don't have to rely on auto smooth only. I can actually mark the areas I want to be sharp manually. So I'm just going to select the whole thing and mark this whole thing as sharp. I'll press Control E, mark seam, Control E, and then mark sharp right here. And what that's going to do is it's going to mark all of the edges on this cube as sharp. So now auto smooth basically has no control over what's happening to the shading here. Wherever these sharps are marked, they overrule the auto smooth angle. No matter where I put this now, whether it's at 0 or 180 degrees, nothing is going to change because the sharp options overrule this angle value. Now once again, for sharps to work, you have to make sure auto smooth is turned on. Otherwise, as you can see, it doesn't actually work. So sharps are nice because you can overrule the angle here. To clear sharps, you select everything, press Control E, and then clear sharps. And for example, I could also just sharpen the top face, Control E, and then mark sharp. So now only the top face is sharpened, but everything else has a pretty ugly shading here. So this is pretty useful because if you're working with an angle but don't want certain areas to be captured by the angle, you can simply use the mark sharp to say, hey, whatever angle you're working with, just completely ignore where I have these mark sharps applied. So I can mark this sharp. And as you're going to see, no matter what the angle is, nothing's going to affect this area here, which is super nice. But now this area, I don't have any sharps marked, so it's actually going to smooth out as I would have expected. So we can really kind of combine sharps and angles to see which areas we want to have affected by the auto smooth and which areas we don't. Here's a more practical example. Say for the bottom of this piece, I wanted it to be jagged like this, but I still wanted this bevel right here to be smoothed. So usually what I'd do is I'd adjust the angle, and you're going to see that the angle does capture this and smooths it out, but it also smooths out this bottom area, which isn't the effect I wanted. So I don't really have, a middle ground with the angle. It's either going to smooth all this out, or I'm just going to have to accept that if I want this corner smoothed out, then basically everything is going to get smoothed out. You can see how it kind of captures. So this is a practical situation in which you could use sharps, because if I want to keep this smooth but the angle simply isn't adjusting to get the bottom jagged, hopefully I'm making sense here, I can just simply ramp up this angle, capture the areas I want to have smoothed, and then just really go in here and start marking sharp, Control E, and then mark sharp. So we're basically getting the exact effect we want without the angle adjusting the bottom area. Now once you start adding bevels and whatnot to really start making it look like a hard surface model, the sharps don't come in super useful. I mean, they're still kind of capturing here, as you can see, but the areas that are being beveled, such as these edges, the sharps don't really matter anymore. I could literally just remove all these sharps here, Control E, clear the sharp, and you're going to see, since we have a bevel applied now, it doesn't really make a difference. So usually this is going to work with mainly flat shaded surfaces, meaning there's no bevel there. You're not going to be using it a lot, mark sharps per se. There's going to be situations in which you'll realize, hey, I need a sharp here. But for the most part, don't spend your time questioning when you should or shouldn't use it, because as you model, you're going to figure out a situation in which it will work best for you. But most of the time, you don't need to stress too much about sharps because the bevel is going to kind of take over anyways. So here's a good example from our sci-fi crate design course. As you can see, the shading's pretty bad on this, so we're just going to go around to the areas where the shading's getting stretched, and we're going to mark all of those edges as sharp. So as you can see, once that sharp was applied, the shading issues basically went away, and then we can go ahead and deal with getting our bevel to work as we want it to. So in my opinion, sharps are used as a temporary shading fix up until you apply your bevel, where the sharps don't really matter anymore.